All right, if you're watching this video, I'm going to assume that you have graph paper at home to use. If you do not have graph paper available to you, please go back to the previous page and watch the other video about making a graph without graph paper, because I'm going to give you different information right now. So the first thing that you need to do is get yourself a piece of graph paper. A ruler would be great if you have a ruler. Otherwise, you just need some sort of a straight edge. Always use a straight edge when you're making a graph, please. And you're going to need your journal. For right now, you're going to open your journal up to page D that we set up last week on Tuesday. So page D, graphing basics. All of the stuff that I'm going to say at first, I want you to go ahead and write in your graphing basics page, because it's just some reminders about how to do a graph and how to make it look proper, how to set it up properly, all of that kind of thing. So as I'm talking, you should be taking some notes on the graphing basics page. For this particular graph, you don't want to use an entire sheet of graph paper. It's way too big. That's too much space. So the easiest thing to do is to take your sheet of graph paper, fold it in half, and you're just going to use half of your graph paper. Now you can cut it or tear it, or I'm going to show you a little trick that I learned. Take your ruler after you folded it and put the edge of your ruler right up against the edge of that fold. Hold your ruler really tight and then pull up on your paper. It's not the cleanest edge you've ever seen, but it is better than just trying to tear it by hand. So now we have a sheet of graph paper, and that's really all you need. So you're going to do your X and Y axes. Remember, X is your horizontal along the bottom. Y is your vertical along the left side. Now we have to deal with this hole right here. We need to be able to label our axes. So we're going to kind of ignore these 2 or 3 boxes over here on the left and pretend like those aren't there. That way we have plenty of space to write on the graph. The first thing that you need to do is to draw in your axes. Leave yourself some room to label your x-axis on the bottom. So I usually go about the 3rd line up from the bottom. Take your ruler and just trace over that line. Go all the way out to the edge. Now draw on your y-axis. Remember I said ignore these over here because you're going to have trouble with these the hole. So I'm going to go about 3 lines in from where that hole is. And I'm going to draw a line all the way down like that. And you'll have this little space right here, and that's okay. So always label your axis. Your x-axis in this case is going to be area. Leave some space right underneath the line that you drew and label your axis. Area. And if you have units, which we almost always will in physics, you're going to add the units. So area, and then open parentheses. Our area is in centimeters squared, and then close parentheses. Our y-axis in this case is going to be our mass. So again, label your axis, mass, and our unit is grams. That way everybody who ever looks at this graph knows exactly what it is. Now we want to put a title on our graph as well. And the easiest way to make a title for your graph is just to do y versus x. So in this case, mass versus area. And we can write at the very top, mass versus area. Now you're ready to actually label your axes with numbers. Now you want your data to fill the entire graph whenever possible. So you need to scale your axes in order to fit your data. And there's a really simple way that we do that. So look at your data chart. Go ahead and look at your data chart now so that you have your number. And look at all of the areas that you have written down. Ignore the area of a full tile for now. That's not going to fit on our graph. But look at the areas that you have written for pieces A through H. Find the very biggest one. Now, circle that or make a star next to it so you know that that's the one that you're going to use. Now look at your x-axis. And all of these blue lines right here, we're going to count how many blue lines do we have available along this x-axis. For mine, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. I have 26 lines that I can work with here. Now let's say that your largest area is 100 centimeters squared. You're going to take your largest area, 100 centimeters squared, and you're going to divide it by how many lines you have available on your axis.